Hi, welcome to Dead Air Live. I'm Jean Flanagan from Somerville Producers Group. Tonight we're going to do food. We're doing food of all sorts. We're going to do funny food and not so funny food. We're going to do old food and new food, international food and local flair. And so we're going to start, it's going to be a mix of retrospective material that has been on Dead Air Live years and years ago, and some new stuff that people have just put together. And I'm going to cook waffles here later on in the show. So we're going to start with a tape called Table Manners. It was actually taped in 1955, and so you should enjoy the historic factor involved in table manners from the 50s.
Eating together can be fun, an event the entire family enjoys and looks forward to. Throughout history, the sharing of food with others has been a token of friendship and goodwill. Friends and relatives gather around the table on holidays and days of celebration. Friends sit together at the school cafeteria table, or families enjoy an evening out at a restaurant, or a meal at home as this family is doing. You can tell by the look on this father's face that he's enjoying this meal. As a matter of fact, he's pretty proud right at the moment because his daughter Jane and his son Jimmy helped make this dinner more fun than almost any he can remember. Mother has a smile on her face, too, because she knows why Jane and Jimmy remembered their table manners so well tonight. It was to be a surprise for Daddy. Let's turn back the hands of the clock to 5 o'clock and see what happened. Mother, Jane, and Jimmy were setting the table for dinner, and Jimmy was saying that he wished Daddy could come home from work sooner so he'd have more time to have fun with the family before dinner. Jane said that about the only time they saw Daddy during the week was when they were eating, because by the time dishes were done after dinner and their homework was finished, it was almost time for bed. Mother agreed that this was a problem, but she said that, after all, a simple thing like eating dinner together could be fun, too. Now, Jane and Jimmy weren't too sure just what Mother meant. But the more they thought about what she'd said, the more it seemed to make sense. So they decided to make a list of the things they could do to make meals more enjoyable for everyone. Then, when Daddy came home for dinner tonight, they'd surprise him. Jane got some paper and a pencil. Then they both sat down and started making out their list. Jimmy said that eating together is more fun if everyone comes to the table as soon as he's called, or even better, help bring the food in from the kitchen. Jane wrote this down on the list. Then Jane said everyone should be clean, so they wrote, "Wash your hands and face before the meal." And their list grew and grew as first Jimmy would think of one thing, then Jane would think of another. Mother came in from the kitchen just as they were finishing the list. Mother said she thought they had a wonderful idea, and she knew Daddy would be very pleased and very surprised, too. As Mother looked over the list, she noticed that almost everything on the list called for better table manners, and Mother said that was right. Eating dinner is more fun when everyone remembers his table manners. But she reminded them that remembering was the hardest part. We know what to do, she said, but we forget sometimes unless we make good table manners a habit. Jane and Jimmy said they weren't going to forget tonight. They wanted to surprise Daddy. About that time, they heard a car door slam. Daddy was home. Jane and Jimmy hid the paper and pencil in the desk so that Daddy wouldn't know about the surprise. When Daddy came in, He didn't suspect a thing. But he was hungry and ready for dinner. Yes, sir, that food in the kitchen really smelled good. Jane and Jimmy were ready for dinner, too. In fact, they could hardly wait. Jimmy said he guessed they'd better get their hands and faces washed so they'd be ready to come to the table when Mother called them. And away they went to clean up. Daddy said that Jane and Jimmy seemed so eager for dinner to start, they must be pretty hungry tonight. But Mother didn't tell the secret. So Daddy went to wash his hands and face, too. When Mother said dinner was ready, Jane and Jimmy hurried to the table and stood by their chairs. Their hands and faces were washed, and they were ready to sit down at the same time as Mother and Daddy. As Daddy gave thanks, Jimmy bowed his head and was very quiet, because this was the way his family gave thanks for their food. Then Daddy started serving the food. When he asked Jane if she'd like a larger helping of potatoes, she said, "Yes, please." So far, Jane and Jimmy had remembered everything on their list. Jimmy sat up straight in his chair. He didn't slouch against the back of the chair or lean on the table. He didn't play with his food or with his silverware. He paid attention to what he was doing. Jane, too, was paying attention. When Mother needed some butter, Jane said, "Would you like some butter, Mother?" And Mother said, "Yes, she would, thank you." Before Jane passed the butter, she was careful to put her silverware down. She put her knife and fork on the plate. She didn't lean them against the side of the plate, as oars on a boat. Jimmy said he would like some butter, too, please, and Mother passed the butter on to him. Daddy was very pleased at the way both Jane and Jimmy remembered their table manners. Not once had he had to remind them of anything. Instead, he just relaxed and asked Jimmy what he had done at school today. Jane wanted to tell Daddy about school, too, but she waited for her turn in the conversation. She finished chewing her food so her mouth wouldn't be full when it was her time to talk. When Jimmy finished telling Daddy his story, Daddy asked Jane what she had been doing all day. All through the rest of the meal, Jane and Jimmy remembered their table manners, and Daddy was pleased. In fact, he said he couldn't remember when he'd enjoyed a dinner more than this one. He'd noticed how well Jane and Jimmy had done. He said he was certainly proud of Jane and Jimmy. Well, that was when Jane, Jimmy, and Mother decided to let Daddy in on the secret. Jane asked to be excused from the table and went to the desk. She got the list from the drawer of the desk and took it to Daddy. Then they explained all about their surprise. Daddy read through the list and said, "Well, now let's go back and see if you did everything on your list. Be clean. Wash hands and face before meals, so you'll be ready on time. Come to the table right away when called, or better, be there to help before called." Daddy remembered that Jane and Jimmy both washed their hands and face before dinner, and they had come to the table right away when Mother said that dinner was ready. Next on the list was, be polite, say please and thank you. Jane and Jimmy had both been very polite. Daddy remembered, for example, how Jane had said please when Daddy asked her if she wanted more potatoes, and how she had said thank you when he passed her plate to her. Sit up straight. Don't lean on table or back against the chair. Jimmy had done that all right. He'd sat up straight and paid attention to what he was doing, and he didn't play with his food or silverware either. Wait your turn to talk. Don't talk with your mouth full. Yes, Jane and Jimmy had waited their turns in the conversation. While Jimmy was telling Daddy what happened at school today, Jane had finished chewing her food, so she'd be ready to talk when her turn came. Pass things to each other and ask for things instead of reaching. See what your neighbor needs and pass it to him. Daddy was especially proud of the way Jane noticed that Mother needed butter and passed it to her before Mother had to ask for it. Place silverware on the plate when not using it. Both Jane and Jimmy had been careful not to put their silverware on the tablecloth where it would leave stains. Stay at the table until excused. Jane had excused herself from the table and received permission to go before she went to the desk to get the list to show Daddy. So Daddy said it looked as if they'd done everything on their list. They'd remembered all their table manners. He was certainly pleased. As Daddy was congratulating them and saying how proud he was of them, Jane and Jimmy remembered that Daddy had forgotten to read the last thing on their list. It was on the other side of the page. Eating together is more fun if we all remember our table manners. They all laughed when Daddy said, "Yes, sir, I sure agree with this."
Hi, I'm Scott Budden with the Somerville Producers Group, and you've just seen table manners. The next piece is differently mannered. It's more contemporary. It features a local fixture who would have been found at Kenmore Square at the deli house, Adam Schumann, and it's a show which is a surreality show about a cooking show, the premise being that you would be cooking for musicians. And it's something that you might see one day or something like it on VH1 Behind the Scenes. So this is the Gypsy Cook. There's a theme song, although you won't see it tonight, but enjoy the clip.
Hand whisk, but particularly because I have zest in here, we're going to use it. We're going to use this whisk because that'll help puree it more. Anytime you use this kind of blender, you use this. You want to use a vessel that has high walls, right? So it doesn't go splattering everywhere, like that. So I'm just going to mix that up and agitate it, kind of mix up the oil, the vinegar, and the orange zest. Then what we're going to do, Bailey, we're going to mix up the greens with this, and then layer up the other salad on top of it. And then we're going to just crack a little salt, a little pepper on top of that. So I'm just about done with the dressing.
Hold on one second. I'm going to get you a big bowl.
Tastes good. So we're going to use this. We're going to go in the other room, and we're going to mix everything up. Another one of my favorite tools in the kitchen, 6-inch tongs, mixing up salads. I'm going to use the grill. I love grilling with these. I just see people like putting their hands right on the grill and burning themselves. Get a long pair of tongs. It's an extension of your hands. Awesome. Good job. All right, so Bailey, watching out for me. All right, so I'll take all the greens now. Just dump them in there for me.
Okay, Boston lettuce.
Awesome. Watercress.
Watercress.
Okay, and I'm going to mix those up thoroughly so that each salad gets a nice proportion of watercress to the buttery Boston lettuce. Mix those up. Great flavors of kind of play off of each other because the Boston lettuce is kind of sweet.
Very
and
fresh, man. Nice.
Yeah.
Good color.
Yeah. All right. Now we're going to add this dressing right in there. And we're going to toss it up and we're going to start serving everybody. Wait till you see what this salad looks like. How many heads was this?
2 or 3, man.
3?
Oh, yeah, baby.
All right, John needs to cut through the shot.
No.
Oh yeah.
The guy upstairs.
I gotta go upstairs.
Oh,
That's okay, we'll get that.
this is great.
You know what it needs, though? You know what it needs, though?
Oh, yeah.
A little cracked pepper,
There you go.
right? A little
Yeah.
high. Just make sure this isn't my pepper. I want to see how well it's grinding. Okay, that's good. You know, like the different textures of
Yeah.
pepper. For salad, you want to be a little bit more coarse than with a sauce. So I'm going to open up the grinder a little bit. Put a bunch of pepper. And you could use the red pepper seeds. Those are always nice. I like those. White pepper seeds.
Green peppercorns.
Green peppercorns. Yep. A little salt. Here we are, ready to start plating. So I'm going to send one plate out, and then I'm going to start grilling tuna while these guys all enjoy their salad. So I'm going to mix this up. I'm going to let you build it too, because you're an artist.
Okay, no problem.
All right? So we're going to let Bailey take all the
I'm gonna have
ingredients,
the finished product.
and he'll do out the finished product. I'm going to make up the salad.
Gotta think of something pretty in here. Then we could sprinkle. You want to sprinkle or you want to place? What do you think?
I think that you should take your artistic leanings and tendencies and have fun building a salad.
All right, let's do this.
We mentioned earlier that half a taste is appearance, and I know you know that since we worked together for 2.5
Doesn't look good,
years.
it's not gonna taste good.
That's right.
Wow.
Is that an old adage?
Yeah. So we can just
Look at
get
my
a
friend
little
Bailey here,
creative here.
an artist at work.
You want to contrast the colors, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. That's the other thing. The reason why I did the apricots, we're going to have some fresh oranges on there. Look at the nice colors we got going on here.
Yeah, darks and lights, everything's great. Here, there. There we go. Stick this orange up like that. You know, maybe a couple more peanuts here. That's right there. And then,
What a
that's
masterpiece.
it. That's what I'm talking about.
All right, and now we're just going to crack a little pepper on the top just before we serve it. Voila. Thanks, Bailey.
Oh, blue cheese sand, sorry.
All right, that's okay. Would be the first.
That's awfully good.
Who wants a salad?
Yeah, exactly.
I need.
Do you want me to help? Yeah, she
No, we're going to do it together.
This guy who was like, just like a
very funny to me too in June, and I'm like, oh my god.
forget about this guy.
That's what his friend was just like, and like, you know, usually your friends are like, they're aside of your friends. He goes,
Right.
you know what? He goes, no. He goes, I was telling his home and he doesn't understand. Oh my god. Oh my god.
Now you don't talk so loud. Now you don't act so proud about having to be scrounging for your next wicked hot meal. How does it feel? Hot. It's wicked hot. How does it feel?
Oh, yeah, we're on a hot session.
Like a habanero stone. Like a complete jalapeno on nose. A poblano rolling stone. Oh, they made cheeseburgers in the back, but you thought you would crack and tell them that they weren't hot enough. You got your favorite cayenne seasoning, you poured it on and you said, babe, don't you like it done? You were having fun between the burger and the bun. ask me, oh, how does it feel to be on the throne, calling on the phone, saying don't leave me alone. I think my spleen is blown. It's jalapeno stone.
John Benini and the Gypsy Court Choir.
My apologies to
Bob Dylan.
Everybody.
It's everybody. We haven't have to hear that. Okay.
Everyone who's
I thought I wanted to try. That's actually kind of gooey. That's good though. It's
go
ground
with
up.
dry, Adam, go with dry. You know why, so try. With
Okay.
dry,
I've got some
Adam,
ginger
dry.
paste actually. Okay, it smells like ginger. I do have some on my nose.
Let me smell it.
Smell that, man. That's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, give me some of that.
You want to smell that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So we're gonna put some ginger in there.
You got the porn channel here by any chance? Special guest appearance by Mr. Rod Stewart. Hot shrimp wearing me out. Hot shrimp, you can scream and shout. Hot shrimp on your shoes too. I love you, honey. Got to be a frozen meal. Help me out there, brother. I got into something I just can't get out.
Well, you know, you can play along acoustically while I finish this. I finally got the paprika open. Thank you for that. Just going to the. We're gonna add paprika now.
Hi, welcome back. We had a little bit of fun, a little bit of music. I guess that paprika looked like it was going to make that, whatever he was putting that ginger and the paprika in, pretty hot. So our next tape takes us back a little bit, and we're going to go back to an old clip that we showed that was some Somerville Producers Group members from 1993. And it was part of a show that was Bobby Watson's Thanksgiving Feast. And the name of this little segment that you're going to see is called Putting on the Ritz.
Hot on the scene. Here we go. Let's look at a little escarole.
With me now is Eska Roll, and she is somebody whose column you may have seen in the paper, Ask Eska. And Eska has put out a new cookbook called Putting on the Ritz. Tonight she's going to give you a quickie recipe because we don't have much time, and you too can learn how to make a fine dinner from Eska Roll.
Laura,
Welcome.
not only a fine dinner, we're talking about hors d'oeuvres, an entree, and a dessert in under 5 minutes.
Unbelievable.
Could I use your help? Are you free for a minute?
I'm free. I'm all yours for the next 5.
I'm glad you mentioned that this is a series called Putting on the Ritz because, of course, our main ingredient is the Ritz cracker. Why don't we begin with the hors d'oeuvre, Laura?
That's a wonderful place to begin, Eska.
Okay. Let's just take out a few little Ritz crackers, place them very neatly on a cutting board.
How many do you have to do for this dish?
Well, I'd say 4 per person. Maybe
That
our
sounds
technical
very-
crew could join us a little later after the show and taste our delicious little hors d'oeuvres. Okay, so quickly, we've got our Ritz crackers, and next we're going to need just a little bit of cucumber. Oh, yeah, well, let's just chop them. We need 4 little slices. Perfect. Aren't they gorgeous?
They are. They're very round.
Oh, they are.
They fit
Now-
perfectly.
Now, the point is that what we're building up to is the title of this recipe.
What's that, Eska?
Froggy on a lily pad. Now, this is the beginning of a lily pad. Now, watch.
What's that, Eska?
This is Cheese Whiz, to be purchased in any... Oh, there we go. It's
That
coming.
looks so nutritious.
Oh, yes. What we're talking about tonight is protein complements.
Would you
There
like
we
a
go.
hand?
Thank you.
Is that the Froggy, the Cheese Whiz?
No, no, no. The Froggy's coming up next. Wait a minute.
What's this part, Eska?
This is just the protein upon which the Froggy will rest. Now, notice the next ingredient is the olive,
The humble olive.
which looks quite a bit like
Froggy?
Froggy. Now, just a minute. Let me get the Froggy sitting in the protein on the lily pad. Can our camera pick that up?
This is stunning. This is really a visual delight and probably a feast as well for the mouth as well as the eyes.
Let's move quickly along to the entree.
Good.
We'll just
I'm
move that
hungry now,
aside.
Eska.
Okay. Now, quickly, 2 plates, because we're
plates.
both probably quite hungry tonight.
We're very hungry.
Back to our Ritz cracker.
Yes.
Let's try 4 or 5. Just kind of, you can put those in a neat little
This is
batch
the
there.
ubiquitous and versatile Ritz cracker.
This is the Ritz cracker. Now let me give you the title of this recipe, this next recipe. This is going to be called steak tartare a la Ritz. Now, instead of a nice little, toasted piece of French bread, we're going to use the Ritz cracker. And next place, this is just a fresh ground beef conglomeration here.
Is that otherwise known as the humble hamburger?
The humble hamburger is now going to be turned into quite a gourmet treat. Now, the key thing is just getting this there we go. Now,
Is the humble hamburger any relationship whatsoever to the not so humble pot roast?
I think it's unfair to make such a comparison. But Laura, please, you just
Thank you.
turn that into a nice patty. And what we want to do is just kind of gently let it fall where it may. Beautiful, beautiful. What are we missing?
A napkin?
Protein complement.
Protein complement.
Egg. Nice. Okay, I brought 2 forks so that you could take a turn with me. Let's just scramble up our protein complement.
Means the protein complements the other
To
protein.
the beef.
Unbelievable.
Now, make a little hole. Nice. And just pour it on top. Just let it go. There's no rhyme or reason to this recipe. It's really just
This
a very...
looks so good.
No.
I'm really hungry now, Eska.
Let me ask you something. If you were to sit down and eat this, what would you think is missing?
Alka-Seltzer?
Vegetable. Vegetable. We need a vegetable. So, very quickly. Laura, why don't you take 1 carrot? I'll take another. I happen to have brought my scraper with me. Okay, carrot. Vegetable? No, no, no.
Don't
The
need
hammer
that.
comes later. You just scrape that up. Beautiful. Place it down. It's really a very casual meal.
Ah,
We've got
casual
an
a la
entree.
Ritz.
An entree. Now,
Do you think
very
our camera
quickly-
can pick this up? It is a visual delight.
That looks so good.
Isn't that good?
Okay, next. This is my famous and very easy apple Saint Maur Ritz. Yes, very
Ritz.
good. Now,
Is this dessert, Eska?
this is dessert. The nice thing about this dessert is that there will be leftovers for the family after you've made a very, elegant meal for yourself. Pour the remainder of your Ritz package in a pie dish, and a surprise.
Mixed? Can I mix it?
Not necessary, because we have a surprise utensil.
Is this found in every kitchen?
In every kitchen, one must have a hammer.
In a glass plate, no less.
Do you know what we're going to be doing now?
Breaking the glass plate.
No, no, no. Gently, gently breaking up our Ritz crackers because we want to create kind of a crumbly crust effect.
Can I try that, Eska?
Please take a turn, and I will prepare the filling. That looks beautiful. It's a very casual dish, a very casual dish. Very, very beautiful. Okay,
Tasty,
now,
too.
apple pie filling. How long did it take to make this?
That took, what, like 2 minutes in the checkout line?
There you go. Now, I happen to have brought a spatula because you never know how long it will take to dish out the apples.
That could add 30 seconds.
Perhaps, but this is going very smoothly.
Oh, that looks so good.
Very smoothly indeed.
Is this sort of like mock apple pie?
Oh, well, I of course didn't want to just make the usual mock apple pie that Ritz Crackers talks about on the back of their box. I wanted to create my very own Eska roll recipe. So that's why I came up with this very special
Good. Do you think we ought to show this to...
It's not done yet, Laura.
Oh, I thought it was done. I can hardly contain myself. Whipped cream.
Whipped cream. Let's just make a smiley face and call it a complete and happy meal. Oops. There we go.
That's beautiful.
Have we got that?
There.
Oh.
That's good, Eska.
Thank you very much. And I think that's about it for this evening's set of recipes.
Well, so what do you think about that lovely dish? So putting on the Ritz, and we weren't talking about going down Newbury Street, that's for sure. So the Ritz cracker, the charm of the Ritz cracker holds its time. So what we're going to do now is we're actually going to go on to another tape, and soon I'll be making waffles, and I'm actually going to make real waffles, but they'll be a little different too. The kitchen cam was shot by Ann Adelsberger, a current member of Somerville Producers Group, and she just did a little quick clip in her kitchen. So she's doing tapes tonight, so she's going to start her own tape. Welcome back. We had a little computer glitch, but what computer generated makes life interesting. So that was the kitchen cam. We need to ask Ann in a little bit what it was she made. The cookies looked delicious, but we didn't quite catch on to what the other foodstuffs were. So that was fun. We're going to watch next something that's sort of been missing from a good deal of our show so far. Although we had salad and we had a carrot on putting on the Ritz, we're going to have an older clip from 1991, and Sue Bine, a former Somerville Producers Group member, is going to talk about vegetables and some odd vegetables that we don't use very much in our kitchen. So Sue's going to talk to us.
Something I could eat that wouldn't help me gain back all my weight, but would be satisfying. Carrots and celery just don't do it. So I discovered a lot of different vegetables. Let's see, hardly know where to start, but let's start with one that's becoming more and more popular here. On the West Coast, everyone knows about this. My 93-year-old grandmother knows about this. Of course, she's pretty hip. She would probably know about it anyway. This lovely item is a jicama. I think we have the spelling of it somewhere because it's, do we? No. Weighs a ton. They come in all different sizes. It has skin like a potato, and what you do with it is you cut it, looks like this, and you peel it. The peel's quite thick, and then you get a product that looks kind of like this. And it's really good raw. It's crispy and slightly sweet, almost like an apple. It's really good in salads. I use it when I come home and I'm making dinner and I just want to eat something right away. I just eat this while I'm making dinner. It's also really good in stir fries. It tastes a lot like water chestnut. You just cut it into small pieces and throw it in a stir fry. The difference is that water chestnuts are really starchy and therefore a little more fattening. So this is a good alternative. It tastes like it's starchy, but it's really not. Let's see if we can get rid of this. How do you like my provincial kitchen? This is through the magic of television. Provence comes to Somerville. This is another big favorite. This is a small version of a big favorite. This is called spaghetti squash. You may have seen it. It's different than a lot of the other winter squashes. It's a lot less fattening, very low in carbohydrates. And what do you do with it? I cut it in half, and I put it in the oven, and I blast it until it looks like it's burnt. You would think it was burnt if you didn't know. This is what it looks like when I've blasted it. It's not burnt. And when it's done, you scoop out the seeds, and the flesh of it looks like spaghetti. But it's very low in calories, very nutritious, and you can use, it's very neutral tasting. A lot of people do put spaghetti sauce on it. Sometimes if I want a dessert, I put something sweet, cinnamon and sweetener on it, and bake it in the oven. Let's see. Here's something. You know what this is? A lot of people that are Italian know what this is. They eat it all the time. It's called fennel, or finocchio, or anise. And it looks like glorified celery with a little fern on top. And here's what to do with it. You cut off this part until it's just the bulb. And you cut the bulb into pieces. And it makes really beautiful cross sections. Looks like a puzzle. And I wish you could smell it because it smells very licoricey. I don't like licorice, but I like this. It's something very fresh about it. If you eat it raw, it's very strong and licoricey, and it tastes, it's kind of nice to have between courses because it tastes cleansing. If you cook it, it gets much milder. It's really good in stews and soups, anything where you'd use strongly flavored celery. Very much the texture of celery. So there we go, falls apart. You can steam it, you can boil it, you can eat it raw. Very versatile vegetable.
Hi. Hi, welcome back. This is Jean Flanagan, and I'm going to make my waffles. If they turn the sound off in the studio, I'll be able to concentrate on making the waffles a little bit more. The reason I'm going to make waffles tonight is because waffles are very important in my family. The waffles have been a historical thing in my family because my parents got a waffle iron when they got married. And my mom still has that waffle iron. My dad has rewired it 3 different times. It was a big double-sided waffle iron. There are 5 kids in our family. And so I'm going to start making while I tell this story because I don't make waffles the way my mom used to. But I use a cup, always you have to use half of white flour. And a standard recipe is 2 cups of white flour. But a not so standard recipe calls for white flour, and then I like to use cornmeal. This is a mix of blue cornmeal and yellow cornmeal. Somebody went out west and got blue cornmeal for me. So my mom, with 5 kids in the family, my mom refused to make waffles for breakfast. That was it. She wasn't making waffles for breakfast. We were all too hungry. We all had to sit around for too long. So after we take our 2 cups of flour, we have to have a couple of eggs. We keep all the shell out of there. So my mom wouldn't make waffles for breakfast. My dad would only eat waffles for breakfast because he was a stubborn Irishman and my mom was a stubborn German. So what happened was when my dad went away on trips, we had 2 things. It was, oh, Dad's going to be gone. Isn't that terrible? A 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And oh, good, we get waffles because when Dad wasn't around, we'd make waffles for dinner. So the first night was waffle night and the second night was homemade pizza night. 3 teaspoons of baking powder. So it's 2 cups of flour. I like to mix white flour and then do cornmeal, sometimes half of it, or some whole wheat flour. I like to, or buckwheat. You can use all sorts of things because that half of the white flour is going to give it its rising qualities and has enough gluten. So you can use everything else. So I take my 2 eggs and I beat my 2 eggs. Now, a standard recipe calls for 1.25 cups of milk. And I like to use, I actually have a roommate who's allergic to milk, so we can't use any milk products in the house. I mean, we do when she's not eating, but okay, so 2 eggs is about 1/4 cup, so I just add the other 1.25 cups and end up with 1.5 cups of liquid. And stir that up and put that in. So I grew up eating waffles and was very surprised to find out that people have no idea what waffles are, how to deal with waffles. They're just too simple for words. I make them for breakfast or lunch or dinner, depending on how much time I have. I have to tell you about getting this waffle iron. You'll get the little cheapy waffle irons, and they are flat. The waffles inside aren't thick enough to be real nice crunchy waffles. We've got this heating up right now, and it's got to be nice and toasty. And the secret to waffles, so that they come out, is to add the 1/3 cup of oil to it. If you don't add the oil, the waffles don't come out of the waffle iron. So we have to make sure they come out of the waffle iron. So when we were all grown up and I went off to college, I bemoaned the fact that I no longer had a waffle iron. So in college, I had met somebody who had his grandmother's oval waffle iron, which was really quite exciting. So for my 4 years in college, we borrowed his waffle iron. He's still a friend of mine, and I have to ask him whether he still has that waffle iron. So that's the waffle batter all mixed up. It just doesn't take any time at all. And this is starting to get hot enough. I can put the waffles in. So you want to make sure, if you're looking to buy a waffle iron, you want to make sure that all the bumps in the waffle iron are thick enough. You get some that make little skinny waffles, or you make great big huge ones, which make Belgian waffles. And Belgian waffles have sugar in them and are a sweet dessert waffle. So the next secret to a waffle is to know how much to put in. And you want it to fill, but you don't want to fill it all the way to the outside so it doesn't pour out. So we're going to let our waffles sizzle for a little bit. It actually doesn't take very long. You can sit it at the dinner table. And with 2 people, we can keep waffles going. With 4 people and a nice conversation, you can keep waffles going with a salad and a few other condiments. I like to put butter and real maple syrup on it, butter and powdered sugar, a little jam maybe. Sometimes I make up a fruit compote and put it on. We actually buy our maple syrup by the gallon because that's the only way that we have it for the whole year. So it takes us a year to go through a gallon of maple syrup. And I almost never cook pancakes because waffles are just so much better than pancakes. So you listen for the sizzle. Can you hear the sizzle? And you watch the steam come out, and as the steam starts to slow down a little bit, you want your waffle to be ready. So waffles have this long history in my family. So this is not the waffle iron that I used in college. So now I have to tell you how I got this waffle iron. When I was in graduate school, once again, I bemoaned the fact that I didn't have a waffle iron and didn't have the $55 that a new waffle iron costs. There was no way I was going to acquire that. So I was talking to a grad student. And she and her husband were having a tag sale, and she said, "Oh, we have a waffle iron we've never used. We have no idea how to use it, and it doesn't even have a plug to it." So what we did was I went very early, first thing to that yard sale, and got the waffle iron And she charged me, I think she charged me $3 for the waffle iron because it didn't have a plug. So I was ready. I was like, okay, I'll just make a plug, no problem. So I went into my local hardware store, and there it was. There was a plug all ready for my waffle iron for $1.50. So this whole waffle iron cost me $4.50. So if you want to get into being waffles and making waffles, there are waffle irons out there to be acquired because people actually don't know how to make waffles. So we're going to check this waffle in just a moment. It's still sizzling a little bit, so it's not quite ready to go. So the secret is to make sure you put oil in the waffle and make sure that it's not butter. They say melted shortening, but the butter doesn't make it. You put butter on afterwards, but don't cut short the oil. Don't try to make them low fat. They just have to be done the way that they have to be done. And let's check. And if it has a little stickiness to it, then you don't open it up yet. But there it is, a perfect waffle. So, and it just comes right out of the waffle maker and just is there. And there it is, a nice, hot, crisp waffle. And you just keep putting the next one in. And when there were 7 kids, having 2 sides to your waffle iron meant you were always cooking 2 waffles. So that's how to make waffles. Thanks very much. And we're going to go to the next clip that we're going to go to is food for thought. And we're going to get into watching a woman make a risotto. And Ingrid from Somerville Producers Group is going to be talking about the history of food. So we're going to backtrack a little bit and talk about agriculture and watch risotto being made. Food.
Determine was they could determine that it was a harvested plant. Do you know what I'm saying? That they can look at a bean or at a piece of plant that has been fossilized and figure out if it was a plant that was being bred. And I have no idea. She didn't go into that. I don't know how.
Back then, a genetically altered bean?
Not genetically altered, but something that had been produced so many times that somehow the genetic structure is like that much more set.
So sort of, they recognize a more developed bean and evolved.
For instance, the first maize, the first corn-like stalks were that big, you know, and then so they were selecting. Well, they didn't get that big, but then they were selecting the beans for them to grow stronger. Anyway, did it get better? No, because then there's the other part about it is that a lot of today was so fascinating.
Wait a minute. I want to show you this first.
Okay.
Because I didn't tell you this before.
We have to get back there because it's really amazing.
We'll get back there.
Okay.
1 second.
What are you doing?
Now I put salt in here and there's
Salt! Did you know? Can I interrupt you?
Sure.
Okay. Did you know that Roman soldiers were paid in salt?
Well, you know, rice gets paid in salt. Let me put this in and then you can tell me. Speaking of Rome,
yes,
putting the rice in the salt and then slowly putting the rice and the salt mixture into the boiling water so as not to break the boil of the water is called a pioggia. A pioggia in Italian, which means just like rain.
Just like rain.
So you put it in.
That's so pretty.
Just like rain. Okay, so it broke the boil a little bit. There we go. No, it's still going.
But I've always wondered, how come I put stuff in and it stops boiling? And it
lowers the temperature because it absorbs some of the heat. But this should come back.
We gotta get a stove, Kate.
Torrentia. This is a torrent.
So why do you not want to break the boil?
Well, I guess just to keep it in a nice even temperature the whole way through. So we'll just spread it out a little.
That's never gonna cook. That's like 1,000 pounds of water in there.
Oh no, there's plenty.
That's so pretty.
Isn't that pretty?
Mm-hmm.
And we're gonna, I think,
Salt.
who's coming tonight?
Salt. Charlie's coming.
Okay.
Jens Peter's coming.
All right.
I think Rock,
Okay.
maybe Ricardo, maybe Amanda.
Okay.
Yeah, I think.
All right,
might
I'm
all
gonna
be
do
coming.
more then.
Okay,
so
good
what,
work.
when I'm gonna do this again, but tell me.
Salt.
Salt, right? Okay.
Soldiers were paid in salt, and but then the government got a little bit annoyed. They didn't want to carry the salt around, so they decided to pay them in cash, coins, and then, and that's where the word salary comes from.
Oh,
It
like
comes from
salarium.
salarium, which is how they used to be paid.
In
Is
Italian,
that
it's sale.
fascinating?
Sale?
Sale?
Salt.
See, I mean, how come we don't know this stuff? And
That's why we have you.
I mean, this is our history. Look at this. That's our history. That's disgusting. I mean, it's really disgusting. Where was I?
You were telling me about salaries and salt.
But that's all I have to say about that. The Neolithic Revolution.
Right. So you were telling me why it didn't change things for the better.
Oh, right.
Now,
right,
don't
right,
you
right,
get hungry in class when you're listening to all
Oh, I
of
was
this?
so hungry. I'm still hungry.
Okay.
Where was
This
I
doesn't take
saying?
very long.
Something about
like rain. Georgia.
It is like rain. Oh.
Hi, welcome back. Well, that was making risotto and talking about the history of the development of agriculture and some of the theories. And, oh, one moment, I have a waffle that I think is not quite ready. Okay, so that one's not quite ready yet. So we're gonna let that sit for a bit. Well, we're gonna show in our final segment, we're actually gonna backtrack. We're gonna use an American product called popcorn, but we're gonna see how they make it in Nepal. Probably before Jiffy Pop. So it's an ancient way of popping popcorn. We think of it as being a strictly American product, but clearly Nepal has techniques for over an open fireplace. So let's go to the tape.
खै कता यो यसलाई यता यता ल्याएर हाल्दिनु पर्छ पोलो पोलो smoke going that way. And I'm the half छोप्ने बात त्यही हुँदो रहेछ त्यही हामीले चाहिँ कता गयो भन्छ नि
Hard. Yeah, maybe there is many hearts in here. Ula just chela manu barne. Hard is called chela. Chela. I like chela. Makai kya chela? Chela.
मैले उठ्नु मिल्ने त्यसलाई राख्नु भएन हैन
गाउँमा चाहिँ वास्तवमा ताउ क्या भेट्दैन हाँगे भेट्नु पर्यो नि वास्तवमा है
खुला उठ्नु गई त्यही मात्र फोकस गरेर
मकै मुद्दा पुरा अड्छ ओहो पुरै भयो
अच्छा सिधै माथि गयो
यस्तो गरेपछि चाहिँ भयो जान्छ नि सबै माथि कतिको टुरिस्ट आउँछ नि त यहाँ
आज त्यतिकै हो त्यति धेरै आजल त यो पहिलाको जस्तो अहिलेको वर्ष अहिले बिहान त आउनु त आउँछ
बस्दैन आएर चिया खान्छन्
मकै मकै अर्को गान पनि चाहियो
अर्को घाम ल्याउनु जस्तो कहाँ छ अझै देखेको छैन
भाजी देखेकै छैन भने त सुख पाइयो
कहाँ छ ल्याउनुहोस् त बडाओ अरे पछि त भइहाल्यो
साँच्चै जानै छैन देखेकै छैन भनेपछि मान्छे हात
सुख पाइयो नि है
कस्तो पिरो धुवा आउने रहेछ
त त्यताबाट हामी फुस्केर आइयो बल्ल बल्ल
तपाईँले बाटा
त्यो मकै ल्याउँछ त अब भन्नु घुमाम
भन्नु घुमाउनु पर्यो है
लाजहरू यहाँ जस्तो जानु
म तिमी त कति बेला आउँछ
आनन्दले
मसँग ठेला आउँछ गाबी
त्यो आनन्द यो मिठो हुन्छ क्या मकै त हामीले त्यहाँ उधारेर त्यही भुटेर खानु पर्ने भयो
डन्ट यो खानुहोस् दिदी
अहिले खाँदै आएर नि अलि झ्याउ लाग्छ के भखरी
ओ टाटो
टाटो
मिठो
मिठो छ
छ